Okay. Our next question is from Bethany on resistant starch on keto. Bethany says, "Hi there. I am about 2.5 weeks into a ketogenic diet following the Keto Masterclass and feeling pretty good. I've been trying to figure out how to add in some resistant starch for overall gut health without pushing carb levels too high. I think I would try tapioca starch first. I live in Asia and that's what's most readily available. According to Nutrition Facts Online, a 1 ounce serving of tapioca starch has 6 grams of carbs. Would this number contribute at all to my overall carb count for the day, or does this factor out because of the fact that most of it is resistant to digestion? I hope my question makes sense. Thanks for your time."
Really good question. And I think the point about how much of that 6 grams of resistant starch is going to manifest as a blood glucose response is really hard to pin down. I'm blanking on the fiber that is used in a lot of the low carb and keto, like cookies and stuff like that. It's corn derived, but Tyler was talking to me about this, and there is massive variation from person to person. This is pretty well documented in the literature. One person will eat that kind of resistant starch and they literally get no blood glucose response. And we may see increased levels of butyrate or propionate, these short chain fats that we want to come about from this type of fiber digestion. And other people get a really frisky blood glucose response because it looks like either the human enzymes or the gut associated enzymes with the bacteria allow those fibers to actually be cleaved in a way, and then the glucose enters the bloodstream. So it's really hard to know on that. There's another piece to this that it wasn't Erica Sonnenberg, it's her husband who runs the Sonnenberg lab at Stanford. When the potato starch thing was super hot and heavy and people were supplementing with potato starch, I got to talk to him about that, and he said that when he first heard about that, he was very nervous about basically monocropping the gut microbiome. Like you're dumping a huge amount of one item in there, and then you play all of your gut microbiome to that. And in fact, that's what they saw. They saw loss of diversity and a shift towards what we generally associate being kind of a pathogenic gut microbiota profile. So I wouldn't be super wrapped around the axle, not the axe handle. We teased our good friend about that recently, so that's a whole other aside. But I would focus on things like artichokes and asparagus and nuts and seeds to the degree they're tolerated. I would just try to get as much variety in this story as you can, instead of like trying to selectively dose one thing. That said, if you wanted to put it, like you cook some tapioca and then you chill it in the refrigerator overnight, and you do maybe like a teaspoon or a tablespoon of it, in addition to like onions and leeks and kale and chard, and just as much different fibrous vegetable material as you can. Jicama is really good. Like it's got some carb, but again, you do a couple of slices of it and you're going to be right as rain, and it has some nice varieties of different fibers in it. So I would focus more on just getting variety, and then if you want to throw a little tablespoon here and there of like a tapioca starch, and maybe if you can track down potato starch, like an idea around this is to cook some tapioca, some potato, and some rice together, chill it, and then do a little bit of that, because even then you're going to get
Like
a
the
broader...
actual foods, not the starch.
Ideally the foods, but I mean tapioca usually comes as pearls and all that. And so, but you cook them all together, and then and the potato starch usually comes in a bag, or you could cook potatoes. But I'm noodling on this. Like even that is going to be a broader profile of fermentable carbohydrates than just doing one. And again, you use it as a supplement.
Like a condiment.
As a condiment, not as a main food source. Like I would be more comfortable with that. That makes sense. And again, that being part of an overall background of if you tolerate fermentable carbohydrates well, then that would be part of tons of fruits and veggies and all the rest of that, which can still fit within a ketogenic diet profile.
Kimchi and sauerkraut.
Yep.
And all that
Yep.
stuff too.